Voidspark. Episode 3. Something New. Deck heard them before he saw them. Boots on wet concrete, fast and uneven. He straightened against the hood of his car, bad knee-popping, and watched two girls, mid-20s, come tearing out of the alley mouth. He had seen this before. The auburn-haired one ran like something was still reaching for her. Arms tight against her sides, head down, her legs weren't moving right. She moved like a person trying to remember how running worked. The other one, her sandy hair catching the red neon, she ran differently. She ran like she was pulling her friend out of a fire, one hand gripping the auburn girl's wrist. It slipped. The sandy-haired girl almost went down. Deck squinted through the cigarette smoke. She was missing the left small finger. Clean absence, not recent. He took a drag, let the smoke sit in his lungs, let it out slow. He knew the look. He had catalogued 40-some faces, the ones who saw the show, the real show. They all came out wearing the same expressions, fear followed by recognition. Deck crushed his cigarette and got back in the car. He had found 17 locations in 9 months. Nobody at his precinct knew. He kept up his regular casework, closed his cases, filed his reports. People disappeared every day in Eclipsis, and nobody noticed one more open thread on one more cop's desk. 9 months he had been watching. 9 months of people going into these places curious and coming out changed. People stepped around the ones who came out running. You could watch a person fall apart, and the foot traffic would just bend around and keep moving. He called them Voidsparks. Not an official term. Nothing in any file. Just the word that arrived in his head the first time he saw one. An elderly man and a woman behind a homeless shelter in a different part of the city. He had not meant to step inside, but his foot crossed the threshold and the screaming started. Something hit him square in the chest and shoved him backward into the street. His ears rang with the tail end of a scream that did not sound like it came from a human throat. He drew his weapon and went back in. That was his job. You hear screaming, you go toward it. But the alley was empty. The old man and the woman were gone. No blood, no signs of struggle, no bodies, just silence. Then, at the edge of his vision, low against the wall, a void so black it ate the light around it, and a single bright spark turning inside the dark like something alive. Both there and not there. The way a dream is there when you first open your eyes. What else would you call that? They slid into the wall and were gone. He knew the homeless shelter when it was notorious for human reasons. He had solved that case. A woman was left with a baby she hadn't wanted, and a man ended up with a lethal injection. Deck occasionally checked on her and discovered she had become a good mother. Strange, the things a place collects. Deck had mapped the locations across the city. An overpass on the east side, a bus stop on Harmon Avenue, the others. But this alley was ground zero. The others might rattle you. This one broke you down. One solid connection, that was all Deck had. Solos never experienced an event. It had to be more than one person. Duos, trios, quads. He had watched enough to name the configurations. Nothing else held. The only pattern was what happened after. Everyone went home and stayed there. Early on, he had tried to do this the right way. The ones he caught looked through him like he was furniture. He stopped trying, started watching instead. Deck focused on the girls. 2 blocks out, the running stopped. The one with the missing finger braced her friend against a wall and pulled out her phone. That told Deck which one had gotten the show. Deck had seen people come out shaken. This one looked like she'd been hit by a car. 10 minutes later, a ride pulled up. The sandy-haired girl had to fold her friend into the back seat like she was putting a child to bed. They drove off. Deck followed. The car stopped in front of an apartment building on Kilton Street. Deck pulled over half a block back and cut the engine. The sandy-haired girl came around to the passenger side and helped her friend out. The auburn-haired one leaned on her the whole way to the door. He keyed the building's address into his phone. Entry number 43. Nobody ever went back. In 9 months of watching, Deck had never seen a single person return to the site of their event. He had gone back to every site, more than once, making sure it was empty. The void and the spark from that first time, he never saw them again. Just brick and rain and silence. That bothered him more than anything else about this case. He had thought about joining in, if it even worked that way. He thought about it a lot now. He almost went in tonight. He didn't. A solo doesn't trigger an event. That was the rule, and the rule was the only thing between Deck and whatever was on the other side. He sat in the car and listened to the rain on the roof. He didn't sleep much anymore. The Voidsparks sat in a part of his mind that he couldn't shut off and couldn't walk away from. Deck was reaching for the ignition when he saw her. A woman. Standing in the shadow of the building across the street, still as a photograph. She was not looking at Deck. She was looking up at the apartment building where the 2 girls had just gone inside. Deck's hand moved from the ignition to the door handle. He knew the scared ones, the confused ones, the ones who came because someone dared them to. He had never seen someone come to watch the watchers. He eased the car door open. The hinge gave a low whine, and he stopped, holding the door against the rain. She didn't move. He put one foot on the asphalt, and his knee locked. 9 months of sitting in this car, and his left leg had gone to concrete. He gripped the door frame and pulled himself upright. She still hadn't moved. Deck did. 30 feet. 20. She turned her head, calm as anything, and looked directly at him. No panic, no surprise, just acknowledgement, the way you nod to someone you expected to see. Then she ran. She pushed off the wall and was at speed by the second stride. She went left toward the row of shuttered storefronts on Wren, and she did not look back. Deck's knee lit up on the third stride, a bright line of heat from kneecap to hip that his body knew and his brain overruled. He ran. His shoes slapped wet concrete. His breathing was wrong before the end of the first block, too fast, too shallow, the cigarettes collecting their debt all at once. He could hear her ahead of him. Her footsteps were steady, even, the rhythm of someone running a route, not choosing one. The distance between them grew, not fast. She wasn't sprinting away from him. She was simply moving at a pace his body could not match. Ahead, her silhouette cut through the light spilling from a laundromat window, and the sound of her footsteps changed. Concrete to metal, a grate, and changed back. His lungs were burning. His vision had gone tight, the center locked on the dark shape ahead of him. She moved through this city like it belonged to her. No hesitation at intersections, no checking for traffic. She knew which streets were empty at this hour, and she used them. She cut left. A building. No door. Just a dark mouth where a door used to be, the frame stripped to raw wood. She went through it without breaking stride, and the dark swallowed her. Deck pulled his weapon and followed her in. His chest heaved. His breathing was the loudest thing in the room. Somewhere deep in the building, water was dripping into a puddle. A slow, metered sound. Nothing else. He listened for her footsteps. Nothing. She was gone, not hiding. He swept the dark with the barrel of his gun. A corridor, or what was left of one, shapes in the black that could have been doorways, could have been walls, could have been nothing. No movement. Deck holstered his weapon and walked back to the sick orange wash of a city that did not care what had just happened in it. He stopped at the curb and lit a cigarette. The first drag turned into a coughing fit that bent him over, hands on his knees, the rain coming down on the back of his neck. 9 months. 43 names in his phone, and none of them had ever come back. And not once had anyone else been watching.